there's this viral video. I'm sure you saw it going around on the internet. I saw it on X, but I'm sure it's on Insta and TikTok and all of them, of this liberal woman who says she broke up with her boyfriend over politics. And this has engendered so many strong feelings in the comments section. Wherever it gets posted, here's a bit of it in Stop 38.
So it only does that for conservative men. Only conservative men have such strong feelings about this, because conservative men are trapping liberal women in relationships. So when the liberal woman realizes that the man is conservative and she leaves him, they just get mad that they get caught. And for some reason, I know the real reason, but conservative men keep acting as if their politics don't actually matter. Conservative men don't understand the concept. And when I say they don't understand, they do understand it, because conservative men say all the time they wouldn't date a liberal woman, which is a lie. But if you wouldn't date a liberal woman, then why are you tripping out when a liberal woman says that she wants to divorce her conservative husband? If you as a conservative man wouldn't date a liberal woman, then why are you upset when a liberal woman says she is going to leave her conservative husband? You guys have to understand that is the fault of the husband, not the fault of the woman in most cases. Because most people don't become more liberal the older they get. So what happens is the conservative man was masking the whole time, and then he starts to reveal himself more and more and more and more to the woman, to the point to where she goes, I can't be with this person, he's disgusting. Or the conservative man who maybe was, I don't know, I won't even say that. I remember there was a documentary that came out a long time ago, and it showed how it was this woman. She did a documentary on how her father had been brainwashed by Fox News. And he used to be liberal, he used to be left-leaning, and then he started listening. It wasn't in Fox News, I'm sorry. He started to commute to work, and he would listen to AM radio, and he fell in, he was listening to Don Imus and Rush Limbaugh or whatever. And that's how he got indoctrinated. Like, he wasn't like that before. He got indoctrinated in his later years, and his wife didn't leave him or whatever. But long story short, they get to the end of the documentary, and the husband, who didn't commute anymore, he was retired, he was really old, he lost his remote, or his remote broke, and the wife just didn't replace it. And the wife was still, she was liberal. So she started turning the TV to like liberal news stations, CNBC, CNN, whatever. And he slowly but surely, you could see it in the documentary. He started to say like, Obama's not that bad. Cause this was like back when Obama was president. And like, yeah, that can happen. You can become indoctrinated in your later years if you're susceptible to the indoctrination. In either case, I totally understand a woman, and a woman has the right to leave you. She does. If your politics don't align with hers, I can't think of a better reason to leave somebody outside of infidelity and abuse. Couldn't think of a better reason.
So I am obviously, like, very much, everyone knows that I'm a liberal woman. My brother's gay, all my friends are gay, also like abortion rights, female rights, but anyways, so I would like always ask him, I'd be like, what's your politics? Like, where do you lean? And he was just like, well, like socially, I'm a liberal, but
I don't really ask people their politics, because most Americans don't know what left and right is. Most Americans think that there is a left and right in America, when there's really not. There's just all right. There's just different versions and different levels of right-wing, conservative ideologies. So me personally, I wouldn't ask somebody, what is your, like, are you conservative? Are you like, I don't necessarily ask people those questions in most cases, but you can ask people what they think about certain policies, because our political, the way that our politics are set up in this country, it is very divisive. So when you ask a person, are they liberal or conservative? It comes with a whole set of identifiers that people then don't want to identify with, or people do want to identify with. Meaning, if you act like, a lot of people don't want to be like on record as coming out as being conservative, aka being Republican. A lot of people don't want to come like personally, they don't. When you around certain people, right? Like when they get around their people, don't worry, they say that shit. But they know that a lot of people frown upon conservative ideologies, and rightfully so. So they'll be guarded. But if you're asking people what do they think about this, like basically what I'm saying is there's really no shortcut way of finding out a person's politics outside of just discussing their politics with them. I think you can continue to ask people like which way do they lean, or they conservative, but I have found it way more beneficial and way more accurate when I discuss specific politics, specific policies. What do you think about abortion? Or just bring up scenarios. Hey, man, I got to tell you this story. This woman had an abortion, and, this happened and that happened. And, now they're trying to lock her up because she had a miscarriage. And, what I'm saying? Like she threw the baby she threw the fetus that came out of her in the garbage, not thinking anything of it. And now they want to arrest her for it and all of this stuff. But, and if he's like, no, I can see you both ways, and or she's like, I can see you both ways, that might be a red flag. What are you talking about? You can see that both ways. What the fuck do you mean? Right? So, yeah, so I say all of that to say, my suggestion to anybody that's trying to figure out somebody's political leanings is not to just come out and ask them, are you conservative or are you liberal? That's just me.
Pretty much everyone knows that I'm a liberal woman. My brother's gay. All my friends are gay. Also, like abortion rights, female rights. But anyways, so I would like always ask him. I'd be like, what's your politics? Like, where do you lean? And he was just like, well, like socially, I'm a liberal, but economically, I'm a Republican. Fuck that. Okay, fuck this. This is my last straw. Again, I'm a very liberal woman. I have to date someone that is on the same page as me, because I can't disagree with someone on something that is so important to me for the rest of my life. I fully respect Republicans. I understand that you want to vote that way, but for me, I don't want to marry you and I don't want to date you. So we ended it, and no regrets. I've been single ever since. It was awesome. It's been awesome.
Well, what's wrong with that? It's her choice. And B, again, I completely understand that. Women are tired of signing up for being in relationships with misogynistic men. An easy way to tell if a man is misogynistic is by his politics, his political leanings. I'm just going to cut to the chase. And that's why so many men are masking their political leanings. They don't want to tell women. They don't want to reveal it to women, especially too early. Sign of an abuser. They don't want to reveal it too early. They know full and well what they're doing. And any conservative man lying, talking about, oh, I wouldn't date a liberal woman, or because this doesn't happen. You're lying. Happens all the time.
Like virtually every man I follow at X had the same response. Dodged a bullet there, man. Congrats. Mm-hmm. Can I just, before we get to the substance?
They dodged the bullet. No, she dodged the bullet. She was going to be the one that was going to end up getting abused. How did they dodge a bullet? Because they were going to abuse her and she wasn't going to like it and then leave them eventually? That's dodging a bullet?
And stuff. I won't date a guy who doesn't share my politics. She's extremely unlikable. She's caustic. She's smug. She's she said there's an arrogance to her. Like, it's my way or the highway. I know better. I mean, you're disgusting because you don't agree with me politically.
The fuck are you talking about, Megyn Kelly? I don't know that woman from Adam, but there was nothing about that woman that came off as combative, that came off as disagreeable, that came off as a know-it-all. Knowing yourself and knowing your political leanings is not the same as being arrogant. Like, that is pure projection. That is Megyn Kelly. That's how Megyn Kelly functions. And that's how most conservatives functions. As if they know, no, you guys just don't know. You guys are sleep. You guys are sheep. You guys are the ones who call people sheep all the time.
Like, there's a disdain, even though, half the country disagrees with her politically. A lot of really good, beautiful people disagree with her politically.
No. You can't be a good person. You cannot consider yourself a good person, nor will I consider you a good person if you are voting against marginalized groups of people and you're voting for policies that will hurt those people, but you don't care. Yeah, no, you're not a good person. I'm sorry. I don't care what you do I don't care. I don't care. Honestly, I don't care what you do. You're not a good person. You're not a good person. Period, point blank. There is no such thing as a good Republican. I don't care. Get mad at your mammy. If you're a Republican, you're not good. I'm just going to tell you that right now. You're not good.
Quickly. Why is that?
And before you guys come for me and say, but you can be a good Democrat. Yeah, here's why. Because a lot of people that vote for Democrats do so to stop Republicans. A lot of people who vote for Democrats, again, don't necessarily like the Democrats. They're not gung-ho about being a Democrat. They're just anti-fascism. Even I voted for Kamala Harris this last election. A person that's never voted for a Democrat in his life, 43 years old, but I voted for a Democrat in this last election. I am not a Democrat, though. I do not align with the vast majority of Democrat ideologies and policies. I don't. My wish is that we can consolidate the corporate parties, because we only have corporate parties. We don't have a party that represents working class people. I hope that we can consolidate the corporate parties that are the Democrat and the Republican establishments, consolidate those into one party, and then create several parties for the people. I think we should have 5 or 6 political parties in America like they do in most developed countries. But one of them has to be one that represents workers. One of them has to be one that represents workers. Has to be. But we don't have any party that represents workers. So as a person as a left-leaning person, as a lefty that just voted for Kamala Harris, I can tell you, I don't align with Democrats, but I also will never vote for a Republican, nor will I ever be okay with the Republican being in office. On any level, am I okay with the Republican being in office? On any level.
Associated so often with these liberal women who do these posts on social media.
Well, I have seen a lot of posts like that, but look, I'm just going to say she seems to know herself and what she wants really well. And she's going for it. So go for it. I actually don't have any ill feelings toward her at all, because she's determined. I'm unwilling to move even an inch on my politics.
Anna Kasparian, I used to watch her a lot. On the Young Turks, I used to watch the Young Turks a lot. But Anna Kasparian is very, she's what we would consider to be a leftist. I know recently she's been all over the place, but historically she's been a leftist. And I just thought it was funny, if you look at her face when Megyn Kelly was like talking mess about that woman, Anna did not agree with her one bit. And she just disagreed with her in the nicest way. But like, what is there to disagree with? She's like, yeah, she has I totally understand. She's a leftist or she's a liberal. And I totally understand anybody that doesn't want to be in a relationship with a man or a woman that is against the things that they believe in. They are the antithesis of the things that they believe in, or they believe in the antithesis of the things that I believe in. I totally understand that.
But I do agree that she might be closing herself off to individuals that would be wonderful for her, including her now ex-boyfriend.
It won't happen. She's not. Anna, stop. You know better than that. She's lying. This is pandering 101 right here.
Because people change, people grow, and they shift their positions on issues here and there. I think it's wrong to think that, someone's political identity can't be fluid. I think it's fluid to some extent. What I find really interesting is that he agreed with her on social issues, and the agreement on social issues, it's what's really likely to lead to a smoother relationship.
You can't be socially, you can't be, I'm telling you, I've never seen it before. You cannot be socially liberal and conservative fiscally, because those two things clash, right? Think about it. So if you're conservative fiscally and you're, left on social issues, a social issue is something like abortion, right? But you're right leaning. So let's say you're like, I do think that women should have the right to get abortions. And then you go, okay. And I think that so I go, yeah. And I think that the government should pay for it. I think that healthcare should be free for all women. No, I don't believe in that. So that's going to deny a lot of women the right to get an abortion. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I don't, okay, so you don't actually believe that every woman should have access to abortions and that it's their right to get an abortion. Well, I mean, if they can pay for it, okay, so now you're not for it then. That's what that means. If you're for it, you're for it all the way. Like, I'm for every child eating. I'm for every child eating. I think every child and every person, but specifically children, I'm pro child nutrition, right? I'm not. So if they say, yeah, we need to pay as a government, we need to fund, children getting food, I'm not going to be like, shit, man, fiscally, though, I don't know if we will be able to. No, what the fuck? Absolutely. Pay for that. So you can't be. It's impossible. It's a lie.
If he's more fiscally conservative, I don't think that's necessarily something that should be a deal breaker.
Well, I'll tell you something, though. I'll tell you something right now, Anna. He didn't agree with her on social issues. It was a lie.
Probably.
If he's fiscally conservative, he's not. And today,
straight out the mouth of a right winger. Even she knows that it's bullshit. Listen, straight out the mouth of Megyn Kelly.
I don't think that's necessarily something that should be a deal breaker.
Well, I'll tell you something, though. I'll tell you something right now, Anna. He didn't agree with her on social issues. It was a lie.
Probably.
If he's fiscally conservative, he's not. In today's social environment, maybe like the social environment of 15 years ago, where the big thing was like gay marriage. You could be like a pro-choice, pro-gay marriage Republican, like a Rudy Giuliani. Right. But there is zero chance in today's day and age somebody who says they're fiscally conservative is actually socially liberal too. I don't believe it. So she was right that they had vast differences.
It's always been like that, though, to me.
I just find her so disdainful and unlikable. And women like that are giving like my liberal friends a bad name because she's so nasty and seems to be like playing fast and loose with this guy's feelings, like he's a nothing to her just because he has different politics. All right, one more.
Just because he has different politics is crazy. Politics are the code to our society. They're the thing that drive our society. So if you have different politics, again, what is a better reason to not get along with somebody?
Or for you on the culture front. And this is another woman, and this is gonna take us to a place that I've really been dying to discuss. This is a woman named Paige Connell. She's a TikTok mom influencer. And she decided to post a very long, I watched 5, I give this woman 5.
They are so, oh my God. Paige has the right wingers in a tizzy. Shout out to Paige. Doing good work over there.
5 minutes of my life, which I'll never get back. It was all about how she's a working mom. Her husband works too. They have kids. She's very, very unsatisfied with the amount, or was, of housework and support he was bringing to the home. And she really had to lecture him into doing more, and then was extremely disappointed when he did not live up to like her expectations. Let me play what we have of it. Slot 39.
My husband and I had 4 kids. We both worked full time. We had been together for 16 years at this point. And on paper, I have an amazing husband, but I was incredibly frustrated and burnt out from our marriage and from motherhood. And when we have kids, women tend to carry a disproportionate amount of the work in the home, the work of raising kids, and the mental load. And about 3 months after my fourth baby was born, I remember looking at my husband and saying, I need more. I need you to do more. And I said, okay, something that would make my life easier is if in the mornings when I came downstairs with the 4 kids, because I do mornings by myself, the dishwasher was emptied, the dishes were put away, and the trash was taken out. And so, of course, he does it, but then I have to remind him, and then he forgets. I felt so disrespected and unseen and unvalued at that point in time. And so we did the work to figure out what equity looked like in our relationship. And it can hurt your relationship. It can ruin your marriage if you do not participate in an equitable way in your home.
Here's the thing that most men I follow on Twitter.
Again, I guarantee you, Anna agrees with everything Paige said. I promise you she does. But she's doing the right wing grift right now, so she can't really push back too hard.
Are responding to on X. They're offended that a wife would post a diss video about her husband on the internet in any.
Nothing that Paige said was dissing her husband. She literally said that her and her husband are in a better place now because he's doing the work. That's anything but a diss record. Saying my husband used to be one way and it was bad and now he's good. My God. Where's the shame in that? That he grew? Where's the shame in growth? I didn't take that as a diss to him. This is why I relate to a lot of Paige's content, because I'm not Paige. In my relationship, I'm not Paige. My wife is Paige. I'm her husband. You know what I'm saying? I relate to her husband. But being a man that's doing the work, or at least attempting to do the work, when I hear what she says, I go, okay, so it can be done. It's an inspiration. Damn, her husband did it. I can do it. He did it. I can do it. Why can't I do it? So that's a good lesson to learn. I don't even need to hear him say it. I love to hear it more from the woman in the relationship with the man saying my husband is a better person now. That's so inspiring to me. Like, I love hearing that. That's so inspiring. I'm like, yes, okay, cool. So I can do it. Cool. And then I listen to the things that she's saying that her husband needs to work on and is working on. And I'm like, those are the things that I need to work on. Those are the things I'm working on right now. So I'm on the right track. There's nothing wrong with that. There's no diss going on there. You guys are just children and you hate, you men just like to put out this image, this false image of ourselves. And we don't want anybody to see us for who we really are. So if ever our women come out and say, well, this is the type of person my husband is or was, then you take that as a slight. But that's your bad, not hers.
Any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, look, I have a broader point to make about that culture, and it goes well beyond wives posting about their husbands. Please stop airing your dirty laundry on social media. Honestly, have a little bit of respect, a modicum of respect for the people in your personal life, even if you're in the middle of a feud with them. How about respect their privacy and work it out privately?
That's not airing dirty laundry. Again, they're not in the middle of a fight. They're not in it. This was years ago when this happened. They are beyond it now. They've healed. He healed. She healed. Now she's talking about it. And she's helping people that may be in similar situations as they are and were. Like me, like my wife, like many women I know, like many men I know. That's not the same thing as running to, online, which you do whatever you want to do. But that's not the same thing as you get into an argument with your husband or wife and then you run online and you just start bashing them online, or not necessarily bashing them, but you start to tell everybody what they did online. That is a different thing. You guys are going through it, which I don't even have a problem with that. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. Who the hell is Anna or Megyn or anybody to tell people how to process their emotions or how to process their experiences? However they want to do it is how they want to do it. I don't have any problem with it.
You don't need a bunch of random strangers chiming in on your relationship. I would never in a million years do that to my husband or my friends or to my colleagues, which has been done to me many, many times.
Good for you. And you did do it to your colleagues.
I think it's disgusting. It shows a lack of maturity. Have the conversation privately, work out your own drama and your own issues privately. So that's point number one. Point number two is, look, a marriage, as I'm sure you know, it's a partnership. And I think when you fail to see it as a partnership and you instead kind of like tally who's doing what and whether or not you're, pulling your weight or he's pulling his weight, that's just a toxic environment to function in, to have a
No, it's not. It's not a tally. It's a feeling more than anything. It's really a feeling. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean that it's not a reality too, but I'm saying if the woman feels or a person, because it could be a man too. If a person in a relationship feels like they're shouldering the bulk of the burden and responsibility in the relationship, that it's okay for them to come out and say, hey, you need to step up. You need to do more. What the fuck is wrong with that? It's not tit for tat. It's not petty.
Relationship in. And so I learned that lesson pretty early on in my marriage. I remember in the very beginning, it was like, okay, he's got his bank account, I've got my bank account, and he's going to pay these bills, I'm going to pay those bills. For some marriages, that works out. But I remember, Cenk Uygur, my co-host and the founder of the Young Turks, he kind of pulled me aside and said, you're kind of paving a path to a lot of conflict here. You have to see your marriage as a partnership. And don't think of it as his money versus my money. And honestly, that was the best advice I ever got in my marriage. And we do really well together. And I don't, he's not keeping track of whether I'm pulling my weight. I'm not keeping track of what.
That's money. That I can understand. But if your husband stopped cooking and stopped cleaning and stopped helping out around the house, you mean to tell me that you wouldn't say anything because you're not keeping quote unquote track of that? The fuck are you talking about?
Whether he's pulling his weight, we have mutual love and mutual respect for each other, and we look out for each other. That's in my opinion, a successful marriage.
There's something happening with men and women in, on the conservative side of the aisle that's a little upsetting to me right now. And that is like, as we have bent over backwards as conservatives or, right-leaning people to make clear to women that they don't have to, quote, have it all, that like if they don't want to work outside of the home and they want to be stay-at-home wives or stay-at-home moms too, like doing it all, that's a totally amazing choice. And no one should look down on it. It's the most important job in the world.
Conservative men do look down on that though. In the comment section on your own video, there's tons of conservative men looking down on it. Who is we? Who is trying to make women who want to work and, conservative women who want to work, feel seen and feel safe and feel heard, like, and feel validated? Who's doing that in the conservative space? Maybe other conservative women, maybe, but not even them. Conservative men don't give a fuck.
It's literally the most important job in the world to be a mother and to raise good children. But like so many things, we overcorrect. We do it on the right. The left does it too. And what's happening right now on the right to some extent is it's morphing into, and there's something wrong with somebody who works. And the women who work are less attractive and not good partners. And also, if you choose to work in like your 20s and your 30s and spend a lot of time at the office, you're effing up your whole life. You're not going to meet a man and you're not going to have a kid, even though that's not necessarily true. It's much easier to meet somebody and have a baby in your 20s because you're young and you got your totally golden eggs. But so many women have kids in their 30s. I mean, without fertility help. And we've just sort of gotten to this place on the right where the messaging to me is like, it's making me really uncomfortable. What do you make of it?
Well, it's always
It's almost like Megyn Kelly gets it. It's almost like she gets it, right, y'all? Like, damn, she's so close, but yet so far. Because, yeah, it should make you feel uncomfortable, but that is the message on the right, though. She's acting like it's a new thing. That's the message. They don't want women working. They want traditional values. They want to put women back in the kitchen. They want to make women barefoot and pregnant again. That's what they want. And it is harder for women to meet a man the more money she makes and the more successful she comes in her career. And not because of not necessarily even because of the men, but because of the women. The women become more selective. They are more fulfilled because they have a career and they have a great friend group and they don't need to depend on a man for, financial stability or whatever. And they're getting all of their needs or most of their needs met emotionally from their robust friend group that they have. So yeah, the more successful a woman becomes financially and as far as like, her career wise, yeah, it's harder for her. It's easier. And she becomes older and harder to manipulate. So there's a lot of things going on there. Hell yeah. It ain't about having babies and shit. It's about not being susceptible or being preyed upon by some fucking, abusive man.
Made me uncomfortable, especially because I think the best possible situation is a situation in which women get to decide, right? So if they decide they want to be stay-at-home mothers, I think it's important to have the economic conditions that allow for that to happen. And I have a lot of respect for stay-at-home moms. I agree with you. I think that's literally the most difficult job in the world. And it's important for kids to have that close relationship with their mother growing up, especially in like the formative years. But I do think that it's possible for mothers to work and still be great mothers. The thing is, a lot of women don't even have that choice. You get what I'm
The reason why it's hard for women to work and be great mothers, though, is because the lack of support that she gets from her partner. If she got more support, not financially, but if she got more support from her partner, she wouldn't have to do everything. And that's where the failures come into place. Usually that's when the chinks in the armor start to show, is because she is tasked with the responsibility of taking care of the whole household from top to bottom and everything in between, while her partner does next to nothing.
saying? I especially in this current economy with inflation. So I would love to live in a world where I could be a stay-at-home, housewife, but it's just not realistic. We got to pay our bills and we both have to work. But I really do think if we had that economic situation in place, a lot of women would choose to be stay-at-home mothers, and it should be their choice. I don't think it's anyone's place to judge the decisions that are made by any family.
And I think that women who they even right now, the right is trying to get women to have more babies, and they're like, we'll pay you $5,000 after you get done having a baby, which is nothing, doesn't even cover the cost of the pregnancy. But I think we should just pay domestic laborers money. I think we should just pay them. We should just pay them. We should just, you're a stay-at-home mom, okay, and the government should just step in and be like, all right, being a stay-at-home mom per child, and do the calculations and say that is $80,000 a year to do that job. And that's how it will work. That's how we should pay women we should incentivize women staying at home and taking care of the family and doing domestic labor and being a homemaker and whatever you want to call it. Period, point blank. That's how it should work. Because I don't even think that we should necessarily, I think every worker deserves more money, but I'm saying, like, I don't think the solution is to pay men more money, because you're going to create, and we want to get away from creating these scenarios where men have all the economic power in a relationship, because the vast majority of the time men will abuse that power. So I don't really want to go down the road of just pay men more and that'll take care of that. No. Pay the women. The women need the money. Put the money in her pocket. She needs her own retirement plan. She needs her own pension. She needs her own access to insurance or whatever the case may be for being a home laborer. No doubt about it.
Right? It's up to that family to decide what works best for them and whether or not they could afford the setup that they want to pursue.
But here's what's happening on the right. Young women, I talk to young conservative women all the time about their lives and their goals and, the things that they want. And what's happening is they can't find men who are maybe more conservative. Usually they're looking for somebody who is religious, a lot of conservative women tend to be God-loving conservatives, and they can't find a lot of.
Megyn Kelly couldn't even say it. She's so disconnected from religion and whatnot herself, but she knows her base is very religious. She couldn't even remember the proper words to use right there. God-fearing was the word you were looking for.
Young men who want to marry a working woman now. And this is an actual problem that's coming up on the right. And to me, it's so sad, because it's like, how did we get to the point where we we're now telling young, conservative, amazing women that they're not attractive if they also work. If they choose to.
We've always been there. This is not new. Why are we acting like this is new? This is not new. What the fuck?
Let's say, do what I'm doing and what you're doing and like get their voice out there. But I'll stick with me just because I think conservatives listening to this will like the thought of another Megyn Kelly voice up and coming.
Barf.
Well, why wouldn't we want that? Why would we take somebody who's talented in this field and really wants to make a difference and have the messaging to her be, you're really not that valuable unless you give it up and go into the home and only have a family and only raise a family. And not only are we sending her that message, but young men are actually believing that. They're actually believing it, especially on the right, because like the trad mom has gotten so popular. And it's like, no, if we do that, we're not going to have any strong conservative or right-leaning women to provide a role model for younger conservative women who, and there's nothing to apologize for here, don't necessarily want to spend all their 20s and their 30s getting married and having kids, or can't. They just weren't able to meet somebody and definitely don't need to be shamed over it.
This is the most sensible. Again, it's almost like Megyn Kelly gets it. It's almost like she gets it, right? But what she just described, though, is antithetical to conservatism. Working women, oxymoron within the conservative circles. They don't want a working woman, quote unquote, even though all women work.
Yeah, I mean, look, I totally agree with you. I'm of two minds of this, though, because if you are a young man and you know what you want and you think you have the earning power to literally carry the entire family financially, well, then I guess wait around until you find the right woman for you. But I think most women, not all, but most women, even conservative women, think it's important to have some level of financial independence, right? I mean, you never know if your marriage is going to go perfectly well. Things could fall apart. And if you haven't been in the job market at all for a long time, it's going to be difficult for you to get back in. So look, it really depends.
You might as well just be liberal. Let me just cut to any conservative woman that's listening to this and they're like, yeah, why can't we eat our cake and have it too? You can't. Just be liberal. The conservative men don't like you. They want to dominate you. That's what they want. That's what they want. Megyn Kelly actually knows it, I believe. And Anna definitely knows it. And she's not, because she's on Megyn's show, so she's not going to come out and say it. But yeah, you can't. The conservative men don't want women who are empowered in any way, shape, or form, educationally, financially, or any other way. Period.
On the guy, and if he really has a problem with his wife working, well, then that's on him. And I think he's actually going to have some difficulty finding a partner. But there's so many factors to consider.
And they do. And you guys, there's that story where that woman dated conservative men for a year. Those men are struggling to find women like that.
Including the financial difficulty of living in a single income household where you're trying to raise kids. And look, I also think, whether these guys want to believe it or not, when you have a stay-at-home wife, I've seen too many instances of this resentment building because for whatever reason, guys tend to think that, oh, well, she's staying home. She's not out there working as hard as I am. She's just.
That's a part of the abuse. That's a part of the manipulation. They resent the women. First, they want the woman to stay home, but then they resent her for it. That's a part of the manipulation. So they, you know what I mean? So they can keep her in a subservient position. They want her to stay home, but then they hate her. But they've always hated her. That's the gag. They always hated her. It's not a new thing. It's not like now they hate her. They always hated her. They always hated her. And a lot of them are dumb too. They don't even know, they don't know that it becomes tiresome shouldering the burden of making all the money in a relationship. It can become stressful. It definitely can. Especially when you don't make enough money, right? If you're a multimillionaire, that's different, right? You're a doctor, you're making $400,000 or $500,000 a year, that's different. But when you got to work 50, 60 hours a week just to make 110 grand a year, that's stressful. That you're definitely going to be stressed out in those situations. And then they end up resenting the woman because men, and it's the fault of men. Men don't think that being a homemaker, quote unquote, is real work. We act like it's a mystery. Like, what is she doing all day when we're gone? Cooking, cleaning, sweeping, thinking, meditating, thinking about what's going on in the household, waiting on the kids, picking up the kids. She woke up and got cracking at 6. So she worked. Her schedule just don't look like yours. But your wife gets up at 6. She works from 6 to 7:30 because the kids get out the door at 7:30, right? 6 to 7:30, the kids leave. The kids go to school. They get out at 2:30. So she's from 7:30 to 2:30. Now she cleans up. She plans dinner, whatever, does her work stuff. Now she's working from 6, 7:30, drops off the kids or whatever. Kids are gone. Now it's 8 o'clock. So from 8 to 11, she's cleaning and getting ready for the day, whatever the case may be. Cool. Now it's 11. Now she got to go to the store. Now she got to go pick up the dry cleaning. Now she got to go do this, do that, make this call on this thing that's broken in the household and yada, yada, whatever. So she does that. That's 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. Now it's time for lunch. It's 1 o'clock. She eats lunch. It's 1:30 or whatever. It's almost time for school. She sits down. She chills out. She gets a little time to herself. Boom. It's time to pick up the kids, or the kids get dropped off on the school bus, whatever. Now she's with the kids. Now she's doing homework. Now she's cleaning. Now she's being a mother. Now she's invested. Now the kids are home. And from 2:30 until y'all go to sleep, she's working the whole time. She never gets any time off. That's pretty much the schedule of stay-at-home mothers and stay-at-home wives. That's how it works. But men go, what is she doing all day?
Home raising the kids. She has a comfortable life. I'm providing for her. This resentment starts to build. And I've seen it all over the place. I've seen it in context like my own family. I've seen it, outside of my family. And so I think they don't really know what they're asking for here, but I could be wrong. Who knows? And I agree with you. I think that it is important to have strong female voices on both sides of the political aisle. And I think they could really be hurting the conservative movement by essentially, banning women from taking part in conservative media. I mean, you're one of